You're listening to ArTEEtude, a podcast with artists created and produced by Detlef Schlich, a visual artist and ritual designer, living and loving in West Cork, and best known for his essay about the cause and effect of shamanism, art and digital culture. Working in the field of performance, photography, painting, sound, installations, and film, he will dive and discover with us and a weekly creative guest into the unknown and exciting deep ocean of the creative mind.
This is Detlef Schlich, and today we dive into the deep and unexpected ocean of the creative mind together with Ivan Funkboy Bodley. Some people call him even the terrible, some call him the funk boy. We had in the first episode, we already talked about his life in Tennessee, and the deep south in Tennessee, and how difficult it is to grow up there. And first of all, hi Ivan. Great to have you on the show.
And thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
It is great. Technology is so amazing. I mean, I mentioned in the first episode already, I had Monty Warren before even, and he's from from West Palm Beach, the roots rocker. I hope I will have Terry Anderson maybe in one of the next shows, and Jack Cornell. I don't know if you know them, if you've ever met them.
I know the names. I don't think I've ever met them though.
He used to write for Georgia Satellites.
Sure, yeah.
Songwriter, and I was listening first time into his own band, which is the Athletics. The Athletics. I don't know. Don't quote me, but on that now I have to research into that deeper. Time flies, and but you guys, you all come from this area. You come from Tennessee, and you're surrounded by North Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, deeper the Florida, Kentucky, Virginia, all that. I mean, that is very, 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 very southy, and even is more eventually more funky. And we finished actually the last part with his experience that he met Stanley Clarke, and that Stanley gave him somehow a little bit maybe a direction, because he was his teacher for a while into your music style.
For sure. I mean, he was a very early influence, one of the first people that I heard play that really excited me. It was like, he's a fiery player. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And sort of growing up, I decided I wanted to be Stanley Clarke and or Jaco Pastorius. Those are my two early heroes. And sort of looking at my career in retrospect for the last 30 years, exactly none of that happened. I made my bread and butter not being like a fusion guy at all. I play like Stax and Motown and New Orleans. That's the kind of stuff that I actually pay the bills with. So your character ends up developing, the way it's going to develop. You can emulate somebody only so much. Then you really have to become your own as a creator. You have to find your own path through the world.
Absolutely. And I mean, sometimes it just happens with the flow, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely, 100%. You were speaking last time too. We started to talk about this, the multimedia things that you create. That you're getting into merchandising, and you're making T-shirts and mugs and cups, and and in my own sort of career, I haven't really gotten the merchandising stuff together the way that you have yet. But like I've always been interested in film and filmmaking, as a kid, but I've become sort of my own videographer. So now all the tracks that I'm releasing, I'm creating,
Are you starting now?
Do it yourself. Yeah. No, I've got like 50 or 60 videos up on my YouTube channel, stuff that some of them are very simple ambient sort of videos that just accompany the music, and some of them are more involved and more edited, more scripted, and that kind of thing.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
But yeah, it pushes. It is, but I like it. You know, it's like everything now you can do it with iMovie. You can do all the editing yourself, and again, it always appealed to me. I started out in high school shooting on Super 8, and you would have to cut the film and tape it together to make your, physically tape it together to make your edits. And now it just feels so seamless and easy to do.
You know what, Super 8? I mean, first of all, what is great is, I think, if you're creative as a person, your creativity is more or less in every direction. You just have to dig a little bit into that, isn't it? And
I agree, 100%.
And I think creativity. I mean, not in general. I mean, even I would say everyone can learn how to draw, but it's different. Just learning or being talented, for instance, you know. And I think, or I probably know that in my case, maybe in your case as well. So I researched a lot in neurologic science. In what is the brain doing, you know, and which things are connected. I mean, the neurons and the way they get fired, and the synapses to cross, who connects ideas and this and that. And I think in my case it is really that I'm overstimulated often.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people. I'm probably on a spectrum like ADLS a little bit, or that attention deficit, blah blah. You know, sometimes if I'm not interested in things, well, I mean, what I know is if I'm gonna go shopping, if I'm in the city, I'm getting very quickly exhausted. You know, so yeah.
Right. Well, it is overstimulating. There's every flashing lights everywhere and adverts and everything. I think what you're saying is exactly right, though. I think, you know, I find that if I'm creating music, or if I'm making a film, or if I'm writing a book, you know, it's a very similar sort of neural pathway, a very similar kind of stimulation that happens, and I find each of them equally rewarding. You know, because as you say, it's that conduit for creativity is coming out. You know, it almost doesn't matter what the medium is. And these days you have to be multimedia. You know, you can't just be a musical artist, or you can't just be a visual artist. You kind of have to have all of it going.
You can if you are in the lucky position that you have your manager who's going around you and is doing anything, all the other things, you know.
Right. Sure.
But I mean, there are not many people. I mean, there's maybe Lady Gaga and Madonna on a later stage, you know. So you
sure, but I think of them as multimedia artists too, because they're creating video, they're working in fashion. You know, really.
Björk is the best example, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean,
great. You know, but I think that's all part of it. I think, as you say, that's part of having the creative mind and having a creative output, is being able to do it in all these different media. I think it's part of especially now, you know, you can't, the age of just being a guitar player, that's over. You know, you have to also have sensibility for video and stage presentation and all of that. It's a multimedia world now.
I mean, a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people struggle, artists, they don't understand that it is going this direction, and they blame society and everything, which is somehow understandable too. You know, I mean, it is this oversaturation, and dealing with that is not everyone's cup of tea. You know.
Yeah. Well, all you have to do is listen to the classic song by the Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
Yes.
That tells you everything you need to know. You know, yeah. You need to be multimedia. It's just the way of the world. And that's 40 years ago now. You know what I mean? Like, this is some information that we've had available for a long time now, you know.
I mean, but you see, the thing is, it is somehow ambivalent, because as a visual artist, I mean, I used to be singer-songwriter in my 20s, 30s actually, punk rock before that in English, and later on pop art performance in German. So that was already a little bit more the path to my later visual artist career, because I was singing and was painting a song together and called it The Power of Color and all that, And I had one song where I was drawing a comic and I gave it as a takeaway, and people could read the comic and could sing with me together as well,
Nice,
So
nice.
Well, that was good, yeah. But that was in the 30s, and then I became a tinnitus, and so I decided, no, you're gonna stop now. This intense contact with audience and being on stage and all that, And then I started to write to do script writings for television, just to get a little bit before I came over here to Ireland. So, but now I lost the string. Can you help me?
Well, as you're illustrating yourself, you already have this multimedia career because you're a musician, a visual artist, a writer. You do all these things, even if you're doing them at different times.
Yeah, no. What I want to say is that if you study visual art, this is a very philosophical, depend word. I mean, I studied very philosophical and multimedia based art, and very very much critical thinking. And the problem is, if you're gonna do 4 years critical thinking, and that means with Adorno, Walter Benjamin, and all this German philosophers, were involved, and then they throw you out as a visual artist, actually completely messed up as a left wing, revolutionary, misanthrope,
Yes, indeed.
That took me a while, to because I never was for mass production and all that, never ever.
No, you're a punk rocker, man. You're a punk rocker at every level. I can tell. Even as a visual artist, you're a punk rocker. You're here to mess some things up.
Yeah, but still then, I'm happy actually that I'm now in my almost 60s that I think, okay, so maybe in 10 years you can replace at least your teeth, with your shop. which is eventually enough. We both know that we don't need more, So we just
That's true. Yeah, really. You need a place you need a little shelter overhead and then some food to eat, and you can be good. That's all you need.
Yeah, just need a little piece of heaven on earth, isn't it?
Having a place to be able to wake up and think and write and create, that's a real luxury if you think about it, right?
I mean, but it is great. So you started as well with video making. Did you ever try a DaVinci Resolve?
Say that again one more time.
DaVinci Resolve. This is the editing software which is for free actually.
Oh! I know what you're saying. No. I'm completely self-taught, self-made. The editing software I haven't used is anything more complicated than iMovie that comes with the iPad. Because, and again, like I don't aspire to have a deluxe editing suite, because again, what I came from was shooting Super 8, which looks very grainy and very dark and very screwed up kind of, and that appeals to me, like having that primitive edge to things. I think if I had $100,000 digital editing suite in front of me, my stuff would immediately not be interesting to me. I think. I feel.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, what I like with DaVinci Resolve is they have color grading, and you really
of course,
you can do great jobs with that. It's really so that means you can. Eventually, you're gonna do a digital painting with DaVinci Resolve,
Sure. Yeah. No, I think if I had a super fancy editing suite, what I would be doing was digitally creating the chaos. You know what I mean? Like trying to digitally recreate the analog limitations from the old media. If I would be adding in.
If I hear you talking, I could imagine you would love to study here on Sherkin Island visual art, where I used to study.
Oh yeah, no, it sounds idyllic.
I finished it 2016, and 4 years every second week to an island, being there for 3 days. Or I mean, I had the luxury to drive back home because I live close to it. I couldn't kayak because the weather was often too stormy. But it's actually really maybe a mile from through the air. From the river next to the river where I'm living here.
It sounds fantastic.
It is very good for creative work. So. To live over here, but the other side is it's very provincial, And if I told you already in our talk, if you're gonna do avant-garde art, it's very difficult to find. I mean, you have to go online and you have to find your distribution through the internet and not
sure,
because here you can survive maybe, or even I don't know if you can survive with that with pottery, for instance. So we still have a lot of very good craftspeople over here. But I mean they struggle probably as well. I mean.
Well, it's interesting that you say that too, because the decisions that I sort of had to make to be able to, to be a craftsperson, for me means I need to be able to play my bass guitar and pay my rent with it somehow. So
very good example.
There's more opportunity for me There's more opportunity for me to do that in New York City where I currently live, because there's a different there are more gigs and there's more variety of gigs to be able to do that with. Whereas I think if I lived in Chattanooga where I grew up, there's no way I could pay all the rent playing music, or even New Orleans where I went to university. I love that city, but I'm not sure I could pay the rent playing only bass. You know what I mean? Like I would probably have to supplement my income another way, I think, because our support for arts in the United States is not what it is in Europe. We really don't have any kind of very, very many government mechanisms to help out people that want to be creative artists. You have to find your own way.
I must say, I mean, I'm really looking up to you guys over there. How are you gonna make it without a proper social network support? I mean, I would say we are perfect here in Europe, but nobody really has to land on the street. If you're a little bit looking in advance, you might find places where you can live. That's what I mean, and you don't have to starve.
Right.
So
it's let's just say there are big differences in our social systems. I know that's for sure. I talk to people all the time about, because I get a lot of people asking me, like, how do I get into the music business, or how do I become a full-time bass player? And the answer is, I don't know. And I'm not sure that's necessarily something that everybody wants or should want.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
I think, because if your avocation becomes your vocation, if something that you love to do becomes what you have to do now to pay the rent, then you can start to resent having to play, We Are Family every time you have a wedding on a Saturday night. That can start to feel like a chore for some people. For me personally, it's a great joy. I can play a wedding every weekend and be just as happy.
That is necessary, I mean, but how quick can it happen to a musician, that he all of a sudden falls into a depression and one click thing here, and so what am I gonna do? I play again. We Are Family. We are not a family. So and going deeper and deeper and deeper in this shit. I mean, that probably happens to people all over.
I've seen it happen all the time. But I personally, I love that song, and I love the craft of playing bass, and I love the
song as well.
Experience of creating. A dance party. So even though it's a commercial venture, like we're playing a wedding, kind of thing.
It's great.
Different wedding next
I must
week.
say, playing songs like this, you can take a lot of positivity out of that as well. I think after
I agree.
After a gig like this, you feel probably very energetic and like after a 20 kilometer marathon or something like that. No.
Yeah, if you've had people dancing for 4 hours to your music, that's very energizing. But also, it's not all of who I am. That's not the only thing that I do. I also do concerts with classic soul artists. I also do my own original recordings that I'm probably not getting paid for. You know what I mean? Like it's only a part of the whole puzzle. And I think when it becomes sort of the one thing that you do, like if you only play in a cover tune band, that's the kind of thing that I think can lead to that depression that you're talking about. People sort of feeling unfulfilled or making it feel like it's just a day job. You know, it could be, you know, stamping passports at the airport, whatever. Like, you know, there's no creativity to it after a certain point once you've sort of learned your craft, you know.
Yeah. I mean, no, I know what you mean, and I think if you can't see it like this, it's okay. You know, I mean, one of my best friends, she is background singer in the cover band, in the Queen cover band.
Oh, fantastic. Great music, right?
They are very good, and they are normally very well booked in Germany, you know, because they're actually Kings and Queens is the name of them. And
nice.
Guys, if you want to see a very good Queen cover band in Germany, or you can book them probably in Europe or wherever you want, you know, so then book this band or watch this band. It's really fun. Yeah, and she is actually, I mean, happy with it normally. I mean, she actually was thinking to do something different, but then as COVID came, he said, so I miss my music. I say, Susan, you see,
right?
You know, so
yeah. You start to appreciate it much more, and I'm sure they play big concerts too. You know, if it's a great cover band, as you say, you know, some of those tribute bands are amazing to watch because Queen's not on tour right now. So if you want to see that music, you have to go see Kings and Queens to see the, you know. See them play We Are the Champions, you know?
Yeah. And I forgot, actually, so Ivan wrote his book, the Am I Famous Yet? Where he put a lot of stories from his life in it. And I didn't mention it at the beginning. And you can buy that as well. And you will find that, you will find everything on my description. So, but it is just to show how creativity can help as well to survive, isn't it? I mean, if I wouldn't have creativity, and I always have to remind myself, because in my 20s I asked myself, hey Detlef, what make you actually still going? Where's the energy? And I realize, okay, it is just, my vision is creativity, you know. It's not the mass production or this and that. So I probably would never ever really fall into deep depressions. I mean, we all know the melancholic moments and this low time, but I always have sometimes a thing where I said, I'm actually curious how this thing, what I'm gonna do currently, works out maybe in a month or this or that. Isn't it? You know,
interesting correlation to that as well. Like during this COVID lockdown period, you know, when especially like live musicians, we couldn't work. There was no place we couldn't play in public gatherings. Yeah. So all we had left was creativity. All we had available to us was to be sitting at home and composing or writing or, you know, editing films or whatever. Like, even though we weren't getting paid for anything, you know, that was the only thing we had to do to survive. Otherwise, you're just going to sit on the couch and watch television for a year and a half. You know,
I can't. I actually
too much, right?
I throw my television away 2008,
and I understand.
I never ever watched television again. You know, I mean, I watch shows and things like that, but I'm not gonna go in this culturally brainwashed direction, you know, with X Factor shit and all that, you know. I can't.
Right.
I can't really. That's depressing. I really, if they would fix me, and if I had to watch it 24 hours, you know, so I would really bad.
That's the scene from Clockwork Orange, right? When they have to retrain him to be a member of society, they force him to watch the violent films.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I can understand that some people like it, and I don't mind they can watch, but it is really nothing for me. So it's, however, that's great. I would say, so when we're gonna speak about creativity, I would like to to introduce the people, you and your music in this ArTEEtude part with another song we had already in the first show, Pig's Feet and Potted Meat. And so I just play the song, and then we maybe learn a little bit about this band behind that as well. Again, what we had already in the first part. So let's listening to Bustin Hump, and let's dance for 5 minutes and get excited. Bustin Hump by Ivan Funkboy Bodley. Yeah. Yeah, 5 minutes of sweating dance over here.
Yeah, good fun. Good fun.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this song. It is great. And
My pleasure.
And it is. It reminded me to actually Herbie Hancock's and Material.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
It is very this fat drums, it's very 80s and I mean I used to be DJ in an underground club, and I mean sure I was playing Chili Peppers and Herbie Hancock and stuff like this as well, so I really.
Well, you were speaking about sort of inspiration for creativity, right? That song started with, the only element we had to start that song was the sample for the hand claps.
Yeah.
And that sample for the hand claps on that song was taken from, I believe, the Zap band, More Bounce to the Ounce, from like 1980, 79, 80, something like this. So all we had was that tempo and that sound, and we know, and like, now what can we create around that to sort of express ourselves, and that's what we came up with.
I love the Zap
Bustin'
band.
Hump.
That was actually my perfect rhythm to dance for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too.
I mean, a friend of
More Bounce to the Ounce. It got me through 10th grade, I think, that song.
what is the name?
More Bounce to the Ounce.
More Bounce to the Ounce. I write it down and I will look it up later.
Yeah. Oh, you got to check that out. Yeah, that was. And again, all we took was the sound of the hand claps. That's all we took.
More bounce to the hounds.
To the ounce.
And that's what the hand
More bounce to the ounce.
hand claps of Zap band, yeah.
Yeah.
Zap band.
That's the only sample we took was this. That's it.
And that's quite cool.
And the rest of it we created ourselves.
But you probably you used to listen as well to Herbie Hancock's Rocket, didn't you?
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I'm even, Herbie, I love his stuff, back with Miles Davis, starting into the 60s, Cantaloupe Island and Watermelon Man, and then all through, the Headhunters album, with Chameleon on it, and those songs were hugely influential, growing up. And then when he got to Rocket and became sort of like, as you say, a multimedia electronic artist, just genius.
That's great. It's
brilliant.
It's really great. Well, I mean, even Material, they use for me very, very, very forward in the 80s.
Bill Laswell,
Yes.
hugely influential producer, songwriter, bass player. So much of that stuff that in the 80s. I listened to him a lot. Really, big fan of Material.
So what I see is as well that we will listen in the next show to another song of Ivan, and it's great to listen to it because it is actually the same funk where I was getting inspired of, so as
absolutely, it's nothing exists in a vacuum. We are the sum of our experiences. And because of international distribution now, we can have similar experiences. Even
Totally.
growing up on different continents as you and I. We've listened to a lot of the same music.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing, and it expresses that music that you listen to and I listen to the same. Even though we listen to the same records.
Yeah.
Our modes of expression are completely different and completely unique.
Sure.
But,
right. That was this dance music was for me. I mean, I used to work in elderly people homes as I was between 20, 25, 26, and things. Going dancing after the late night shift, was keeping me alive. So I had to get rid of this
cathartic. You release all that energy.
Cool. Hey man, it's already. I mean, this half hours they fly by. It is crazy. It is mad. I would say thank you very much for your talk and for being in my show.
These are it's such a pleasure. Like you say, it's effortless. The time just melts away because we have a lot to discuss.
Yeah,
There's much to
yeah.
discuss, that.
So and Ivan is as well now in the hall of ArTEEtude already with his second cup. It is the Hall of ArTEEtude Cup 85, 86, 87, which you can order online as well in my ArTEEtude shop. It's ArTEEtude.com, where you can get also t-shirts here. I still have to make my hats. I still don't have hats, but t-shirts. I mean, caps. Like. I mean, this is actually all that what you can see here. This is my caravan. I used to live in this caravan, 2017.
Yeah.
In Artigo, and this horses they made me allergic again, and I start to itch my eyes because my eyes they're still red. So I'm highly allergic, but cup available, a lot of more as well. T-shirts, I mean, merchandising hell. I mean, Ivan,
You're a multimedia cat, Det. I'm telling you, man.
Ivan has to start as well with his merchandising hell. He mentioned in the first part somehow, but I mean, he's probably so busy. You're so busy that you probably need somebody who helps you with that as well, isn't it? I mean.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I've sort of been doing everything myself, all the booking, all the managerial. I do my own taxes, all that kind of stuff. It's like it's everything. The buck stops here, It's all self-contained these days,
Oh, well, that's great. I mean, I would say we will see us in the third part for sure. And what you can add to it for at the end of this part? What do you want to say? Maybe
what I would say, what I mentioned before, if you just came to episode 87 only, check out my website, funkboy.net, funkboy.net. It has links to everything there. Way more information than you would ever want to know about me is available there. And then, we're gonna have more to talk about, Det. You and I. We've got more to say.
Yeah, sure. That's great. Ivan, have a great time and welcome back in the Hall of ArTEEtude 88. 88. Yes.
Wow.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Cool.
Ciao.
You have listened to ArTEEtude, West Cork's first art, fashion and design podcast. ArTEEtude, never so close again. That was too close.
Cool.